It's 11:30 at night. You're sitting at your kitchen table in a flat somewhere in Berlin or Amsterdam or Dublin, and you're staring at your bank account. €412. Rent hits in 9 days. You've done the math 6 times already, and the answer hasn't changed. You're not bad with money. You're not reckless. You just never had a system. Nobody handed you a blueprint. And the advice you keep finding online is built for Americans with Roth IRAs and 401k plans and a financial landscape that has almost nothing in common with yours. Here's the thing, nobody tells you. Europe didn't leave you behind. Europe actually gave you a set of structural advantages that most people never learn to use. And by the end of this video, you'll have the exact strategy, phase by phase, euro by euro, to turn nothing into serious wealth right here on European soil. My name is Leo, and I hold a degree in European economics and business. I've spent 9 years analyzing economic data and tracking market indicators across Europe. You'll notice I use animation in these videos instead of appearing on camera myself. Why? Because I find that cartoons and visual storytelling make complex economic topics far more accessible and, let's be honest, more watchable. Economics can be dry, but the insights don't have to be. My focus today is specifically on wealth building strategies that actually work within European tax and regulatory frameworks, because the American playbook does not apply here. If you're looking to build real financial independence in Europe, please subscribe and leave a like if you find this content valuable. Today, I'm going to walk you through a 5-phase wealth building system designed specifically for someone starting from €0 in 2026. No inheritance, no lucky breaks. Just a strategy built on data, discipline, and the structural advantages Europe already provides. Now, before we get into the phases, we need to address the elephant in the room. The narrative you've been fed your entire life. Europe's high taxes make it impossible to build wealth. You hear it constantly. 40% income tax. Value-added tax on everything. Capital gains taxes that eat your returns. That's the story. But here's what the data actually shows. According to the OECD Better Life Index, Europeans consistently report higher financial security and lower financial stress than their counterparts in countries with lower tax burdens. And there's a structural reason for this. When you live in a system where healthcare doesn't bankrupt you, where labor protections prevent you from losing your income overnight, where education doesn't start you off with 6 figures of student debt, the floor beneath you is fundamentally different. A 2023 study from the ECB Household Finance Survey found that European households with a structured savings plan accumulate wealth at rates comparable to American households, despite the tax differential. The reason is simple. The safety net isn't a handout, it's a launchpad. It removes the catastrophic risks that derail wealth building for millions of people in other systems. Medical bankruptcy? Essentially non-existent in the EU. Losing your job with 0 severance? Protected against in most member states. Your system isn't holding you back. Your system is removing the landmines from the path. The problem isn't the environment, it's that nobody gave you the map. And there's a critical factor about how compound interest behaves differently across these phases that we'll examine in a moment. But first, let me give you the map itself. What comes next is the core analysis, the exact 5-phase system from 0 to €1 million. Phase 1, 0 to €10,000. This is the foundation phase, and most people get it completely backwards. They think step 1 is investing. It isn't. Step 1 is survival. Your first target is an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses, sitting in a high-yield savings account, untouched. This is not optional. Data from Eurostat shows that 37% of Europeans cannot cover an unexpected expense of €1,000. If you're in that 37%, every financial decision you make is contaminated by desperation. You take bad deals. You accept bad terms. You panic. The emergency fund removes panic from your financial life. Now here's where you start doing something most people in this phase ignore entirely. While you're building that emergency fund, you open an investment account. 0 minimum. 0 balance is fine. Platforms like Trade Republic, Scalable Capital, or DeGiro allow you to start with nothing. And you begin putting €25 to €50 per month into a single fund. VWCE. That's the Vanguard FTSE All-World Accumulating ETF. It gives you exposure to thousands of companies across every developed and emerging market on the planet. And because it's accumulating, it reinvests dividends automatically. You don't touch it, you don't check it, you automate it and forget it. The purpose of this phase isn't returns. At €50 a month, your portfolio isn't going to change your life. The purpose is behavioral. You're building the habit. You're training your nervous system to treat investing as a fixed expense, like rent, like electricity. Something that happens automatically every month, regardless of how you feel. But here's what most people overlook entirely. The real wealth accelerator in phase 1 isn't your portfolio, it's your income. Every hour you spend obsessing over which ETF to pick at this stage would be better spent learning a skill that increases your earning power. According to European Commission labour market data, Europeans who invest in professional certifications or skilled trades see average income increases of 15 to 30% within 2 years. That income growth is the rocket fuel for everything that comes next. Phase 2, 10,000 to 50,000 euros. Here's where theory meets practice. You have your emergency fund, your investing habit is automated. Now you scale. Increase your monthly contributions to 200 to 400 euros. Your allocation shifts slightly. Consider 75% in VWCE for broad global equity exposure, 15% in EXS, which tracks small-cap European companies with higher growth potential, and 10% in either gold or cash reserves as a buffer. And here's a critical distinction. Do not buy individual stocks in this phase. I know it's tempting. Your coworker made 40% on some tech stock and won't stop talking about it. But data from Vanguard's long-term returns research shows that over 85% of actively managed portfolios underperform their benchmark index over a 15-year period. You're not smarter than the market. Nobody is, consistently. What you can be is more disciplined. This phase typically takes 3 to 5 years, and during that time, the most important thing you can do is maximize any tax-advantaged accounts available in your specific country. In Germany, that might mean using your Sparerpauschbetrag, your annual investment income tax-free allowance. In the Netherlands, your investments fall under a deemed return system in box 3 that actually rewards long-term holding. Every country has its own framework, and failing to use these structures is leaving money on the table. There's a regulatory nuance here that changes everything when you cross the €50,000 threshold. But first, let me walk you through why Phase 3 is where the math gets exciting. Phase 3. 50,000 to 100,000 euros. This is the inflection point. This is where compound interest stops being a concept you read about and becomes something you can feel. At 50,000 euros invested, earning a long-term average of 8%, your portfolio generates roughly 4,000 euros in growth per year. That's 4,000 euros you didn't work for. You didn't trade hours for it. It appeared because your money is working while you sleep. Your allocation matures here. Consider shifting to 60 to 70% equities, 20 to 30% fixed income like European government bonds or bond ETFs, and 10% in alternatives. Now here's where it gets interesting. This is the phase where real estate enters the conversation, but not the way most people think. In many European cities, buying is not automatically better than renting. The standard advice of buy a home as soon as you can is missing something critical. You need to run a rent versus buy analysis specific to your city, your income, your tax situation. In Munich, where property prices are 8 to 12 times the average annual income, renting and investing the difference often wins over a 20-year horizon. In parts of Portugal or Eastern Germany, the math flips entirely. This is also the phase where you should explore side income streams that leverage the European single market. You have access to over 440 million consumers under a unified trade framework. Digital services, freelancing across borders, e-commerce. These aren't just nice ideas. They're structurally advantaged by the single market in ways that simply don't exist on other continents. Phase 4, 100,000 to 300,000 euros. We're halfway through the analysis, and the application changes significantly here. At 100,000 euros, your portfolio is generating roughly 8,000 euros annually at an 8% average return. Let that sit for a moment. That's a monthly contribution you're not making. That's compound interest doing the heavy lifting. This is the phase where you can begin considering more sophisticated strategies. Income-generating funds like JGPI, which combines equity exposure with options-based income, can supplement your cash flow. But here's the part that might challenge your assumptions. The biggest risk in this phase isn't a market crash. It's you. It's the behavioral risk. When you have 150,000 euros in your portfolio and the market drops 25% in 3 months, you're watching 37,000 euros disappear from your screen. That's a new car. That's a year of rent. Every instinct in your body screams to sell, to protect what's left. Data from the ECB Household Finance Survey shows that investors who sold during the 2020 pandemic crash and rebought later lost an average of 22% compared to those who simply held. Discipline isn't a personality trait, it's a financial strategy. This is also the phase where estate planning becomes relevant. I know, you're building wealth, not thinking about what happens after. But a single consultation with a cross-border tax advisor in the EU can save your family tens of thousands of euros down the line. Phase 5. 300,000 to 1 million euros. This is where wealth reaches escape velocity. At 300,000 euros growing at 8%, your portfolio adds roughly 24,000 euros per year in growth alone. In many European countries, that figure is approaching or exceeding the median take-home salary. Your capital appreciation is potentially equaling your labor income. Consider reducing equity exposure to 40 to 50% and increasing your allocation to alternatives, real estate investment trusts, infrastructure funds, private credit. Implement tax structuring using legal frameworks available in your jurisdiction. This isn't evasion, this is efficiency, and the country you're in matters enormously here. In Germany, the apprenticeship system means you could have entered the workforce at 18 with zero debt and a skilled trade, giving you a 10-year head start on wealth accumulation. The Netherlands has one of the most supportive environments for entrepreneurs in Europe. Ireland offers low corporate tax rates that attract global companies, creating high salary employment. Estonia's digital residency program lets you run a location-independent business with minimal bureaucracy. Your geography isn't just background context, it's a strategic variable. Now let me connect these insights to the psychology that determines whether any of this actually works. Let me show you how all of these pieces fit into a coherent strategy, because the plan is only half the equation. The other half is understanding the traps that derail 90% of people. Trap number 1. Buying too much house too early. In Europe, where homeownership is culturally significant, people stretch into mortgages that consume 40 to 50% of their net income, leaving nothing for investment. Trap number 2. New cars. The average new car in Europe loses 20 to 30% of its value in the first year. That 30,000 euro vehicle is worth 21,000 euros 12 months later. You just evaporated 9,000 euros. Trap number 3. Consumer debt. Credit card interest rates of 12 to 18% mean you're paying the market's average annual return just in interest. You can't outinvest 18% interest. Trap number 4. Chasing trends. The crypto boom, the meme stock frenzy, the hot sector rotation. These aren't strategies, they're entertainment marketed as investing. And trap number 5. Complex tax schemes promising unrealistic savings. If it sounds too good to be legal, it probably isn't. The fines alone can set you back years. Here's how the behavioral economics behind this actually works. According to research from Morningstar, the single greatest predictor of investment success isn't fund selection, asset allocation, or market timing, it's contribution consistency. People who automate their investments and never adjust based on emotion outperform active managers, market timers, and stock pickers over 20-year horizons. This is why automation isn't a convenience feature. It's the foundation of the entire strategy. Set your monthly transfer from your bank to your investment account on the day after your salary arrives. Make it invisible. Make it automatic. Make it non-negotiable. And there's one more factor that research consistently identifies as a critical wealth determinant that almost nobody talks about in finance content: your partner. Data from Eurostat shows that dual-income households with aligned financial goals accumulate wealth at nearly 3 times the rate of single-income households with misaligned spending habits. This isn't romantic advice. It's statistical reality. Financial alignment in a partnership is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available to you. So let's talk timelines. Because I promised you realistic numbers, and I'm going to deliver them. 0 to 10,000 euros takes roughly 2 to 3 years. 10,000 to 50,000 takes 3 to 5. 50,000 to 100,000 takes 2 to 4 years as compound interest accelerates. 100,000 to 300,000 takes 5 to 7. And 300,000 to 1 million takes 8 to 12 years. Total timeline from 0 to millionaire, 20 to 31 years. That's not a fantasy, that's math. At 500 euros per month invested at 8% average annual returns, you reach approximately 365,000 euros in 20 years. At 1,000 euros per month, you hit roughly 730,000 euros. Seven-figure wealth is accessible to median income Europeans, not through luck, not through inheritance, not through cryptocurrency miracles. Through consistency applied over time within a system that was actually designed to support you. Let me bring this together. Remember that kitchen table? That bank account with €412 and rent due in 9 days? That moment of financial anxiety? It doesn't have to be your permanent reality. The person sitting at that table and the person who has executed this 5-phase system for 20 years are separated by exactly one thing: a decision. Not talent, not a lucky break, not a higher starting salary. A decision to build a system and then trust it. Europe's supposed disadvantages, the taxes, the regulations, the social safety nets, they actually create the conditions for forced savings discipline, reduced catastrophic risk, and long-term structural stability. You're not building wealth despite Europe. You're building wealth because of it. The keys are automation, consistency, and avoiding the traps that derail the vast majority. The data is clear. The framework is there. The structural advantages of building wealth in Europe are real and measurable. The only remaining variable is what you do with this information starting today. What European country are you building wealth in, and what phase are you currently in? Let me know in the comments, and I can tailor future analysis to the specific challenges you're facing. The blueprint exists. Now it's about execution.